Let's get ready for the Massachusetts real estate exam with 100 questions on state-specific laws, principles, practice, and more. And don't miss what's happening in the bottom corner. It'll be key to your prep. We'll tell you how in a minute. Now let's get started.
Let's begin with a review of Massachusetts real estate law and practice. Fair housing laws in Massachusetts. Under Massachusetts law, which group is not protected against discrimination in housing? Is it A, race, B, gender, C, age, or D, national origin? The answer is C, age. In Massachusetts, age is not generally a protected class for fair housing, except in specific circumstances, like housing for older persons under federal law. Which of the following is a penalty for violating Massachusetts fair housing laws? Is it A, civil penalties up to $50,000, B, mandatory community service, C, housing demolition orders, or D, temporary revocation of the professional license? The answer is A, civil penalties up to $50,000. Violators of Massachusetts fair housing laws may face civil penalties, including fines up to $50,000 for repeated violations, as well as potential revocation of professional licenses.
Have you noticed the code in the bottom corner? Next time you're stumped, take that code to birdsey.ai for immediate help and a free study session with Birdsey, your personal AI study partner. Plus, you'll get access to hundreds of additional questions, helping you move closer to passing your exam with confidence. The next time you're feeling unsure or stuck, give it a try.
Which Massachusetts agency is responsible for enforcing fair housing laws? Is it A, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, B, Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, MCAD, C, Housing and Urban Development, HUD, or D, Massachusetts Department of Real Estate? The answer is B, Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, MCAD. The Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, MCAD, is responsible for enforcing the state's fair housing laws and handling discrimination complaints. What must landlords in Massachusetts avoid to comply with fair housing laws during tenant screening? Is it A, performing credit checks, B, discriminating based on marital status, C, verifying employment status, or D, requesting rental history? The answer is B, discriminating based on marital status. Landlords in Massachusetts must avoid discriminating based on marital status, as it is a protected class under the state's fair housing laws. Which of the following actions by a landlord could be considered a violation of Massachusetts fair housing laws? Is it A, evicting a tenant due to non-payment of rent, B, refusing to rent an apartment to a person with children, C, increasing rent following a market analysis, or D, requiring a security deposit before moving in? The answer is B, refusing to rent an apartment to a person with children. Refusing to rent to a person with children constitutes familial status discrimination, which is prohibited under Massachusetts fair housing laws. What is the minimum number of units in a building where landlords must adhere to Massachusetts fair housing laws? Is it A, 1 unit, B, 2 units, C, 3 units, or D, all rented property? The answer is D, all rented property. Massachusetts fair housing laws apply to all rental properties. There is no minimum number of units required for the laws to be applicable. Under Massachusetts fair housing laws, which of the following traits is not a protected class? Is it A, age, B, source of income, C, gender identity, or D, credit score? The answer is D, credit score. Massachusetts fair housing laws protect against discrimination based on age, source of income, and gender identity, among other traits, but not based on credit score. Real estate contracts in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, which of the following must be included in a real estate contract to make it legally binding? Is it A, a verbal agreement between the buyer and the seller? B, signatures of the buyer and the seller? C, a notary public's signature? Or D, an extended inspection period? The answer is B, signatures of the buyer and the seller. In Massachusetts, a real estate contract must be in writing and signed by all parties involved. This satisfies the statute of frauds, which requires written agreements for the sale of real estate. What is the standard period for a buyer to cancel a real estate contract in Massachusetts after signing? Is it A, 3 days, B, C, 10 days, or D, there is no standard cancellation period for buyer's remorse? The answer is D, there is no standard cancellation period for buyer's remorse. Massachusetts law does not provide a standard cancellation period for buyer's remorse. Once a real estate contract is signed, it becomes legally binding unless the contract includes specific contingency clauses. Which type of contingency is commonly included in Massachusetts real estate contracts? Is it A, a contingency for the sale of the buyer's current home? B, a contingency for the interest rate falling below a certain point? C, a contingency for the seller finding a new home? Or D, a contingency for the buyer receiving a large inheritance? The answer is A, a contingency for the sale of the buyer's current home. A common contingency in Massachusetts is for the sale of the buyer's current home. This allows the buyer to cancel the contract if they cannot sell their existing property.
If you're finding this helpful, please take a minute to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, useful tips, and complimentary study sessions with Birdsey.
What is the primary purpose of an earnest money deposit in a Massachusetts real estate contract? Is it A, to compensate the real estate agent? B, to show the buyer's good faith in purchasing the property? C, to cover the closing costs? Or D, to pay for the property inspection? The answer is B, to show the buyer's good faith in purchasing the property. In Massachusetts, the earnest money deposit shows the buyer's good faith and serious intent to purchase the property. This deposit is held in an escrow account until the transaction is completed. Who holds the escrow funds during a real estate transaction in Massachusetts? Is it A, the seller's attorney? B, the buyer's real estate agent? C, an impartial third party, such as an escrow agent or attorney? Or D, the buyer's financial institution? The answer is C, an impartial third party, such as an escrow agent or attorney. In Massachusetts, escrow funds are typically held by an impartial third party, such as an escrow agent or attorney, to ensure that the transaction proceeds fairly for both the buyer and seller. Which of the following is a key element of a valid real estate contract in Massachusetts? Is it A, verbal agreement between parties? B, legal consideration? C, witnesses to the signing? Or D, verification by a notary public? The answer is B, legal consideration. For a real estate contract to be valid in Massachusetts, it must include an offer, acceptance, mutual consent, and consideration, and be in writing. What is the purpose of a contingency clause in a Massachusetts real estate contract? Is it A, to invalidate the contract if buyer defaults? B, to allow the seller to back out of the deal? C, to outline specific conditions that must be satisfied for the contract to be binding? Or D, to negotiate the sale price? The answer is C, to outline specific conditions that must be satisfied for the contract to be binding. Contingency clauses in Massachusetts real estate contracts outline specific conditions that must be met for the agreement to be finalized, such as obtaining financing or satisfactory inspection results. Disclosures required by Massachusetts law. What type of lead disclosure is required for properties built before 1978 in Massachusetts? Is it A, none, lead disclosure is not required? B, only verbal disclosure to prospective buyers? C, a written lead disclosure form and any available reports? Or D, posting a lead warning sign on the property? The answer is C, a written lead disclosure form and any available reports. Federal and Massachusetts state law mandate that sellers provide buyers with a written lead disclosure form and any lead inspection reports for properties built before 1978. Which document must a real estate agent provide to a prospective homebuyer regarding real estate agency relationships? Is it A, a copy of the property deed? B, a notice of agency relationship? C, a homeowner's insurance policy? Or D, a mortgage pre-approval letter? The answer is B, a notice of agency relationship. Massachusetts law requires real estate agents to provide a notice of agency relationship to prospective homebuyers to clarify their fiduciary duties and the legal structure of the relationship. What must a Massachusetts seller disclose regarding the presence of a septic system? Is it A, nothing, septic systems do not need to be disclosed? B, only potential buyers asking specific questions? C, the presence and condition of the septic system? Or D, the monthly cost of maintaining the septic system? The answer is C, the presence and condition of the septic system. Massachusetts law requires sellers to disclose the presence and condition of septic systems, including any known problems, ensuring buyers are fully informed about the property's on-site sewage disposal system. For properties within a designated flood zone, what specific disclosure must be made to potential buyers in Massachusetts? Is it A, the property's previous flooding history? B, any existing flood insurance policy? C, flood zone status and any flood-related requirements? Or D, the cost to build a flood wall? The answer is C, flood zone status and any flood-related requirements. Massachusetts law mandates that sellers disclose if a property is within a flood zone as designated by FEMA, along with any obligations such as mandatory flood insurance. Which of the following is a required disclosure for selling a Massachusetts home that utilizes private well water for drinking? Is it A, the age of the well? B, laboratory results of water quality testing? C, the cost to drill a new well if needed? Or D, the amount of water credit received from the state? The answer is B, laboratory results of water quality testing. Massachusetts law requires sellers to disclose laboratory water quality test results when the property relies on a private well for drinking water, ensuring that potential buyers are aware of water safety and quality. What disclosure is required when selling a property in Massachusetts where the seller is aware of significant water damage? Is it A, disclosure of defective conditions form? B, seller's statement of water damage form? C, mandated water damage notification form? Or D, material defects disclosure? The answer is D, material defects disclosure. In Massachusetts, sellers must disclose any knowledge of material defects, including significant water damage, to potential buyers according to state laws and regulations. Which of the following must be disclosed under Massachusetts law when selling a property located near a landfill? Is it A, disclosure of environmental hazards? B, proximity to landfill notification? C, local area discomfort disclosure? Or D, land use restrictions form? The answer is B, proximity to landfill notification. Sellers in Massachusetts must disclose any significant environmental conditions, such as proximity to a landfill, as it can affect a potential buyer's decision and property valuation. Transfer of title in Massachusetts. What type of deed provides the greatest protection to the grantee in Massachusetts? Is it A, quitclaim deed, B, special warranty deed, C, general warranty deed, or D, bargain and sale deed? The answer is C, general warranty deed. A general warranty deed offers the greatest protection to the grantee, covering all defects in title, not just those arising during the grantor's ownership. In Massachusetts, under what circumstances is a title insurance policy typically issued? Is it A, only if the buyer requests it, B, during the closing process when transferring title, C, after the property tax assessment, or D, when the property is inspected? The answer is B, during the closing process when transferring title. In Massachusetts, title insurance is typically issued during the closing process to protect buyers and lenders from potential title defects. Which document is used to transfer ownership of real property from a deceased person to their heirs in Massachusetts? Is it A, deed of reconveyance, B, certificate of sale, C, executor's deed, or D, grantor's deed? The answer is C, executor's deed. An executor's deed in Massachusetts is used by the executor of an estate to transfer ownership from a deceased individual to their heirs. What is the primary function of a recording statute in Massachusetts? Is it A, to ensure that property taxes are paid, B, to provide a public notice of interests in real property, C, to determine the market value of property, or D, to establish property boundaries? The answer is B, to provide a public notice of interests in real property. Recording statutes in Massachusetts provide public notice of real property interests, establishing the priority of such interests and protecting against subsequent claims. What does constructive notice mean in the context of Massachusetts real estate law? Is it A, notice that is given directly to a specific individual, B, notice that is inferred by law based on recorded documents, C, notice given when a title insurance policy is issued, or D, notice provided during a title search? The answer is B, notice that is inferred by law based on recorded documents. Constructive notice in Massachusetts real estate law means information or interest in real property is publicly known through recorded documents, legally binding even if not directly communicated to all parties. What is required for a valid transfer of title in Massachusetts? Is it A, only a notarized signature, B, a deed delivered and accepted by the grantee, C, an oral agreement in presence of witnesses, or D, payment of property taxes? The answer is B, a deed delivered and accepted by the grantee. To transfer title in Massachusetts, a deed must be both delivered and accepted by the grantee. This process involves the physical handover of the deed and the grantee's acceptance. Which type of deed guarantees that the grantor holds clear title to a piece of real estate? Is it A, quitclaim deed, B, general warranty deed, C, special warranty deed, or D, bargain and sale deed? The answer is B, general warranty deed. A general warranty deed provides the most comprehensive guarantee, ensuring the grantor holds clear title free of defects, with promises extending back to the property's origins.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Earnest money and escrow in Massachusetts. What is the primary function of earnest money in a real estate transaction in Massachusetts? Is it A, to provide legal assurance of property conveyance, B, to serve as a down payment on the property, C, to show the buyer's good faith intention to buy the property, or D, to cover the seller's closing costs? The answer is C, to show the buyer's good faith intention to buy the property. In Massachusetts, earnest money shows the buyer's good faith and commitment to purchasing the property. It typically helps to secure the property for the buyer while the transaction progresses. Which party typically holds the earnest money in escrow in Massachusetts? Is it A, the seller's attorney, B, the local government, C, the listing broker, or D, the buyer's mortgage lender? The answer is C, the listing broker. In Massachusetts, the escrow process often involves the listing broker holding earnest money. This ensures neutrality and protection for both parties until the transaction closes. How is earnest money typically protected under Massachusetts law during the escrow period? Is it A, it is automatically transferred to the seller's account, B, it is held in an escrow account by an impartial party, C, it is used to pay real estate taxes, or D, it is applied to the agent's commission immediately? The answer is B, it is held in an escrow account by an impartial party. Massachusetts law requires that earnest money be held in an escrow account managed by an impartial party, ensuring the money remains secure and is only released under the agreed-upon conditions. Under what condition could the buyer potentially forfeit the earnest money in Massachusetts? Is it A, if the buyer decides to purchase another property, B, if the buyer fails to secure financing and the contract stipulates a financing contingency, C, if the buyer backs out of the deal without a valid reason defined in the contract, or D, if the seller decides to cancel the transaction? The answer is C, if the buyer backs out of the deal without a valid reason defined in the contract. The buyer may forfeit their earnest money if they back out of the deal without a legitimate reason as stated in the purchase agreement, as it breaches the agreed-upon terms. What must be done with the earnest money if a real estate transaction fails to close in Massachusetts? Is it A, it must be donated to a charity, B, it must automatically be returned to the seller, C, it must be held in escrow until mutual agreement is reached or a court order is obtained, or D, it must be used to cover the real estate agent's fees? The answer is C, it must be held in escrow until mutual agreement is reached or a court order is obtained. In Massachusetts, if the transaction does not close, the earnest money stays in escrow until both parties come to an agreement on its release or legal action determines the outcome. Under Massachusetts law, what should happen to earnest money if a real estate transaction is canceled due to the seller's default? Is it A, it is automatically forfeited to the seller, B, it is returned to the buyer, C, it is split equally between the buyer and seller, or D, it is held in escrow until a legal judgment is made? The answer is B, it is returned to the buyer. Massachusetts law specifies that earnest money must be returned to the buyer if a transaction fails due to the seller's default. This protects the buyer's interests. Who typically determines the amount of earnest money required in a Massachusetts real estate transaction? Is it A, the buyer alone, B, the seller alone, C, the real estate agent, or D, both buyer and seller negotiate? The answer is D, both buyer and seller negotiate. The amount of earnest money in Massachusetts is typically negotiated by both the buyer and the seller, ensuring it is mutually agreeable and reflective of the transaction's seriousness. Massachusetts real estate taxes. What is the purpose of the Massachusetts property tax classification system? Is it A, to uniformly tax all types of properties at the same rate, B, to ensure commercial properties pay the same tax rate as residential properties, C, to allow municipalities to tax different property types at different rates, or D, to exempt industrial properties from any property taxes? The answer is C, to allow municipalities to tax different property types at different rates. The Massachusetts property tax classification system allows municipalities to set different tax rates for residential, commercial, and industrial properties, supporting local goals and needs. Who is responsible for assessing property values for tax purposes in Massachusetts? Is it A, the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, B, local city or town assessors, C, the Massachusetts Real Estate Commission, or D, independent private firms hired by the state? The answer is B, local city or town assessors. Local city or town assessors in Massachusetts are responsible for assessing property values for tax purposes, ensuring localized and current property valuations. By what date must real estate taxes be paid in full in Massachusetts to avoid interest and penalties? Is it A, January 1st, B, April 1st, C, November 1st, or D, May 1st? The answer is D, May 1st. In Massachusetts, the final real estate tax payment is typically due by May 1st each year. Late payments can result in interest and penalties being applied. Which type of property is typically eligible for a residential exemption in Massachusetts? Is it A, commercial property, B, vacant land, C, owner-occupied residential property, or D, industrial property? The answer is C, owner-occupied residential property. Owner-occupied residential properties in Massachusetts can be eligible for a residential exemption, which reduces the assessed taxable value and consequently the property tax. How is the annual property tax rate typically determined in Massachusetts municipalities? Is it A, based on the total market value of all properties, B, using a fixed state-mandated rate for all municipalities, C, by the municipality's budgetary needs divided by the total assessed value of the property, or D, based on the average income of residents? The answer is C, by the municipality's budgetary needs divided by the total assessed value of the property. In Massachusetts, the annual property tax rate is typically determined by the municipality's budgetary needs divided by the total assessed value of all taxable property, ensuring adequate funding. Which agency is responsible for overseeing the assessment and taxation of real property in Massachusetts? Is it A, Massachusetts Department of Revenue, B, Board of Assessors, C, Massachusetts Real Estate Commission, or D, Massachusetts Attorney General's Office? The answer is B, Board of Assessors. In Massachusetts, each municipality has a Board of Assessors that is responsible for the assessment of all real property within its jurisdiction for taxation purposes. What is the purpose of a homestead exemption in Massachusetts? Is it A, to reduce property taxes for senior citizens, B, to provide protection against the forced sale of a primary residence, C, to provide a tax credit for energy-efficient home improvements, or D, to allow for the deferral of property taxes? The answer is B, to provide protection against the forced sale of a primary residence. The Massachusetts homestead exemption protects a portion of a homeowner's equity in their principal residence from most creditors in the event of a forced sale or bankruptcy. Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons. What is the primary responsibility of the Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons? Is it A, to set property tax rates, B, to administer licensing exams and issue licenses, C, to enforce building codes, or D, to mediate disputes between landlords and tenants? The answer is B, to administer licensing exams and issue licenses. The Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons oversees the licensing process for real estate professionals, including administering exams and issuing licenses. Which of the following is not a requirement for obtaining a real estate broker's license in Massachusetts? Is it A, passing the broker's exam, B, completing 40 hours of pre-licensing education, C, having a clean criminal record, or D, owning a brokerage firm? The answer is D, owning a brokerage firm. While passing the exam, completing education, and passing a background check are necessary for a broker's license, owning a brokerage firm is not a requirement. How often must a real estate broker renew their license in Massachusetts? Is it A, annually, B, every 2 years, C, every 3 years, or D, every 5 years? The answer is B, every 2 years. Real estate broker licenses in Massachusetts must be renewed biennially or every 2 years in compliance with the board's regulations. What must a licensed real estate salesperson do to become a broker in Massachusetts? Is it A, complete a broker's training course, B, acquire adequate work experience under a licensed broker, C, obtain a real estate attorney's recommendation, or D, submit a personal essay? The answer is B, acquire adequate work experience under a licensed broker. In Massachusetts, a salesperson must work under a broker full-time for at least 3 years and complete additional education to become a licensed broker. Which entity creates and updates the rules regulating real estate practice in Massachusetts? Is it A, local government, B, Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons, C, National Association of Realtors, or D, Federal Housing Administration? The answer is B, Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons. The Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons regulates the rules for real estate practice within the state. Massachusetts Real Estate Licensing and Regulation. What entity is responsible for issuing real estate licenses in Massachusetts? Is it A, Massachusetts Department of Revenue, B, Massachusetts Real Estate Board, C, Massachusetts Registry of Deeds, or D, Massachusetts Housing Authority? The answer is B, Massachusetts Real Estate Board. The Massachusetts Real Estate Board, under the Division of Professional Licensure, is responsible for issuing and regulating real estate licenses in Massachusetts. Which of the following is a requirement for obtaining a real estate salesperson license in Massachusetts? Is it A, must be a U.S. citizen, B, must have a high school diploma or equivalent, C, minimum age of 21, or D, must pass a background check? The answer is B, must have a high school diploma or equivalent. To qualify for a real estate salesperson license in Massachusetts, candidates must have at least a high school diploma or equivalent, among other requirements such as age and pre-licensing education. How often must a Massachusetts real estate licensee complete continuing education to maintain their license? Is it A, every year, B, every 3 years, C, every 2 years, or D, every 5 years? The answer is C, every 2 years. In Massachusetts, real estate licensees are required to complete continuing education every 2 years to renew their licenses and stay current with real estate laws and practices. What is the purpose of the Massachusetts Consumer Protection Act, Chapter 93A, in real estate transactions? Is it A, to standardize real estate contracts, B, to prevent unfair and deceptive practices, C, to regulate real estate commissions, or D, to enforce environmental laws? The answer is B, to prevent unfair and deceptive practices. The Massachusetts Consumer Protection Act, Chapter 93A, aims to protect consumers from unfair or deceptive business practices, including those in real estate transactions. Which of the following individuals are required to have a real estate license in Massachusetts? Is it A, a property owner selling their own home? B, a lawyer handling real estate transactions for a client? C, an auctioneer selling real estate? Or D, a person negotiating real estate sales on behalf of others? The answer is D, a person negotiating real estate sales on behalf of others. In Massachusetts, individuals who engage in negotiating real estate transactions on behalf of others are required to have a real estate license. This ensures they adhere to professional standards and legal requirements. What is the primary purpose of the Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons? Is it A, to provide funding for real estate education programs? B, to enforce real estate licensing laws and regulations? C, to manage real estate market trends? Or D, to set real estate commission rates? The answer is B, to enforce real estate licensing laws and regulations. The Massachusetts Board of Registration of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons enforces licensing laws and regulations to ensure professional standards in the real estate industry. Which of the following actions could result in the suspension or revocation of a real estate license in Massachusetts? Is it A, failing to disclose dual agency status? B, charging a standard commission rate? C, assisting a client in finding a mortgage lender? Or D, collecting application fees? The answer is A, failing to disclose dual agency status. Failing to disclose dual agency status can result in suspension or revocation of a real estate license due to a violation of transparency and client trust.
Don't forget to comment below with your tips, challenges, and thoughts on exam preparation. Your experiences can make a big difference for others.
Now, let's continue with Massachusetts real estate finance. Loan fundamentals. What is the primary purpose of the Massachusetts usury law? Is it A, to prevent unfair lending practices by setting maximum interest rates? B, to outline appraisal standards for real estate? C, to ensure fair housing practices are followed? Or D, to regulate real estate advertising? The answer is A, to prevent unfair lending practices by setting maximum interest rates. The Massachusetts usury law is designed to protect consumers by capping the maximum interest rate on loans, thereby preventing unfair lending practices. Which entity typically provides private mortgage insurance, PMI, for conventional loans in Massachusetts? Is it A, Federal Housing Administration, FHA? B, Veterans Affairs, VA? C, private insurance companies? Or D, Mass Housing? The answer is C, private insurance companies. Private mortgage insurance, PMI, is typically provided by private insurance companies for conventional loans to protect lenders against the risk of borrower default. What type of loan allows a borrower to secure financing through the equity of their property without selling it? Is it A, reverse mortgage? B, construction loan? C, bridge loan? Or D, purchase money mortgage? The answer is A, reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage allows property owners to convert part of the equity in their homes into cash without having to sell their property. What does the term amortization refer to in the context of real estate loans? Is it A, the process of delaying payments on a loan? B, the cost associated with closing a loan? C, the distribution of loan payments into equal installments over a period? Or D, the interest rate adjustment on an adjustable rate mortgage? The answer is C, the distribution of loan payments into equal installments over a period. Amortization is the process of spreading out a loan into a series of fixed payments over its term, ensuring that the loan is paid off by the maturity date. Which federal act requires lenders to provide borrowers with a loan estimate within 3 business days of receiving a mortgage application? Is it A, Truth in Lending Act, TILA. B. Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA. C. Fair Housing Act. Or D. Equal Credit Opportunity Act, ECOA. The answer is B. Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA. The Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, requires mortgage lenders to provide borrowers with a loan estimate outlining the terms and costs within 3 business days of receiving a mortgage application. Which of the following entities is responsible for licensing mortgage brokers in Massachusetts? Is it A. Massachusetts Division of Banks, B. Federal Reserve, C. Federal Housing Administration, FHA, or D. Massachusetts Department of Revenue? The answer is A. Massachusetts Division of Banks. The Massachusetts Division of Banks is entrusted with the responsibility of licensing and regulating mortgage brokers in Massachusetts, ensuring compliance with state laws. What is a primary characteristic of a fixed-rate mortgage? Is it A. Interest rate that changes periodically, B. Interest rate that remains the same throughout the loan term, C. Only available for short-term loans, or D. Interest rate adjusts based on market conditions? The answer is B. Interest rate that remains the same throughout the loan term. Fixed-rate mortgages have an interest rate that remains constant throughout the term of the loan, providing borrowers with predictable monthly payments and stability. Loan types, etc. Which type of loan is guaranteed by the Department of Veterans Affairs for eligible veterans? Is it A. Conventional loan, B. Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, C. Veterans Affairs, VA loan, or D. Jumbo loan? The answer is C. Veterans Affairs, VA loan. VA loans are designed to benefit eligible veterans by offering lower interest rates and no down payment requirements, guaranteed by the Department of Veterans Affairs. Which loan type requires mortgage insurance if the down payment is less than 20%? Is it A. Conventional loan, B. Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, C. Veterans Affairs, VA loan, or D. U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA loan? The answer is A. Conventional loan. Conventional loans require private mortgage insurance, PMI, if a borrower makes a down payment of less than 20%, which protects lenders in the case of default. What is the minimum down payment required for an FHA loan? Is it A. 3.5%, B. 5%, C. 10%, or D. 20%? The answer is A. 3.5%. The FHA requires a minimum down payment of 3.5% for borrowers with a credit score of at least 580, making homeownership accessible for lower income and first-time buyers. Which type of loan offers 100% financing for rural property owners? Is it A. Conventional loan, B. Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, C. Veterans Affairs, VA loan, or D. U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA loan? The answer is D. U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA loan. USDA loans are offered by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to provide low and moderate income households the opportunity to own homes in eligible rural areas with no down payment requirement. Which loan program is specifically designed for first-time homebuyers with lower credit scores? Is it A. Conventional loan, B. Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, C. Veterans Affairs, VA loan, or D. Jumbo loan? The answer is B. Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan. FHA loans are intended to assist first-time homebuyers who may have lower credit scores and less money for a down payment by offering lower down payment requirements and more flexible credit qualifications. Which loan type is commonly used by first-time homebuyers due to its lower down payment requirements and more relaxed credit guidelines? Is it A. Veterans Affairs VA loan, B. Conventional loan, C. Federal Housing Administration FHA loan, or D. Jumbo loan? The answer is C. Federal Housing Administration FHA loan. FHA loans are insured by the Federal Housing Administration, making them popular among first-time homebuyers due to their lower down payment requirements and more lenient credit guidelines. What type of loan provides 100% financing for eligible borrowers and is guaranteed by the Department of Veterans Affairs? Is it A. Federal Housing Administration FHA loan, B. Conventional loan, C. Veterans Affairs VA loan, or D. U.S. Department of Agriculture USDA loan? The answer is C. Veterans Affairs VA loan. VA loans, guaranteed by the Department of Veterans Affairs, offer 100% financing to eligible veterans, active duty personnel, and certain members of the National Guard and Reserves.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Loan qualifications. What is the minimum credit score generally required by lenders for a conventional loan in Massachusetts? Is it A. 620, B. 580, C. 700, or D. Room 50? The answer is A. 620. In Massachusetts, the minimum credit score required for a conventional loan is generally 620. Lenders consider this minimum as a baseline to assess the borrower's creditworthiness. What documentation is commonly required to verify a borrower's income during the loan qualification process in Massachusetts? Is it A. Recent pay stubs and tax returns, B. Credit report, C. Employment letter, or D. Bank statements only? The answer is A. Recent pay stubs and tax returns. Lenders typically require recent pay stubs and tax returns to verify a borrower's income in Massachusetts. These documents help assess the borrower's ability to repay the loan. Which of the following is not evaluated in the debt-to-income ratio (DTI) for loan qualification in Massachusetts? Is it A. Monthly rent payments, B. Student loan payments, C. Grocery expenses, or D. Mortgage payments? The answer is C. Grocery expenses. Grocery expenses are not evaluated in the debt-to-income ratio (DTI). DTI focuses on fixed recurring debts like rent, mortgage, and student loans relative to gross income. In Massachusetts, what is the typical loan-to-value (LTV) ratio limit for conventional loans? Is it A. 80%, B. 90%, C. 70%, or D. 100%? The answer is A. 80%. The typical loan-to-value (LTV) ratio limit for conventional loans in Massachusetts is 80%. This implies the borrower must provide a 20% down payment to qualify for the loan. Which form of mortgage insurance is typically required for conventional loans with an LTV greater than 80%? Is it A. Private mortgage insurance (PMI), B. FHA mortgage insurance, C. Veterans Affairs VA guarantee, or D. Guarantee T? The answer is A. Private mortgage insurance (PMI). Private mortgage insurance (PMI) is typically required for conventional loans in Massachusetts where the loan-to-value (LTV) ratio exceeds 80%, protecting lenders from higher risk of default. What is the maximum debt-to-income ratio typically allowed for FHA loans in Massachusetts? Is it A. 31%, B. 43%, C. 50%, or D. 55%? The answer is B. 43%. The standard back-end DTI limit for FHA loans is 43%, which includes all monthly debt obligations. Understanding these limits is crucial for evaluating loan eligibility. Who typically performs the appraisal required for loan qualifications in Massachusetts? Is it A, the lender, B, the real estate agent, C, a licensed appraiser, or D, the borrower? The answer is C, a licensed appraiser. Licensed appraisers perform the appraisals required for loan qualifications, providing an unbiased valuation of the property for the lender. The loan application process. What is the primary purpose of the Uniform Residential Loan Application (URLA) form? Is it A, to determine the loan amount a buyer qualifies for, B, to provide a comprehensive overview of the borrower's financial situation, C, to offer competitive interest rates to borrowers, or D, to conduct a property appraisal? The answer is B, to provide a comprehensive overview of the borrower's financial situation. The URLA, also known as Form 103, is used by lenders to collect a detailed snapshot of the borrower's financial position, allowing them to determine the suitability for the loan. Which section of the URLA includes information about the borrower's employment and income? Is it A, Section 2, Financial Information, Real Estate, B, Section 4, Loan and Property Information, C, Section Fee, Monthly Income and Combined Housing Expense Information, or D, Section 3, Financial Information, the borrower? The answer is D, Section 3, Financial Information, the borrower. Section 3 of the URLA captures detailed information regarding the borrower's employment status and income, which are critical for assessing loan qualification. What information must be disclosed in Section 6 of the URLA? Is it A, applicant's assets and liabilities, B, applicant's mortgage plans, C, applicant's credit history, or D, details about the property being financed? The answer is A, applicant's assets and liabilities. Section 6 of the URLA includes detailed disclosures about the borrower's assets and liabilities, which are vital for the lender's financial assessment. Why is the borrower's signature required at the end of the URLA? Is it A, to verify that all information provided is accurate and complete, B, to initiate the appraisal process, C, to lock in an interest rate, or D, to approve the loan amount? The answer is A, to verify that all information provided is accurate and complete. The borrower's signature on the URLA confirms that all the provided information is accurate and complete, ensuring the lender can rely on its truthfulness for loan evaluation. What aspect of the borrower's financial situation is assessed using Section 8, Declarations of the URLA? Is it A, borrower's employment history, B, borrower's current and past lawsuits or legal issues, C, borrower's real estate holdings, or D, borrower's monthly income? The answer is B, borrower's current and past lawsuits or legal issues. Section 8 of the URLA contains various declarations where the borrower discloses significant past or ongoing legal issues and financial obligations that could affect their loan eligibility. What is the main purpose of the loan estimate form in the loan application process? Is it A, to provide a detailed analysis of the borrower's credit history, B, to detail the estimated costs and terms of a mortgage loan, C, to verify the borrower's employment and income status, or D, to disclose any financial hardships faced by the borrower? The answer is B, to detail the estimated costs and terms of a mortgage loan. The loan estimate form provides borrowers with an itemized list of estimated costs and terms related to a mortgage loan. This transparency helps borrowers make informed comparisons between loan offers. Which section of the Uniform Residential Loan Application form requires information about the borrower's monthly income and combined housing expense information? Is it A, Section, B, Section 2, C, Section 3, or D, Section? The answer is D, Section 5 of the Uniform Residential Loan Application details the borrower's monthly income and combined housing expense information, crucial for lenders in assessing loan repayment capability. Underwriting for Massachusetts real estate. Which of the following is a key factor that underwriters consider when evaluating a mortgage application in Massachusetts? Is it A, applicant's employment history, B, property's proximity to public transportation, C, title insurance policy, or D, homeowner association fees? The answer is A, applicant's employment history. Underwriters evaluate an applicant's income stability, credit history, and employment history to determine the risk of lending. Consistent employment indicates reliability. What document is primarily used by underwriters to verify the applicant's income in Massachusetts? Is it A, credit report, B, W-2 forms, C, sales contract, or D, appraisal report? The answer is B, W-2 forms. W-2 forms are essential for verifying an applicant's income. Underwriters use them to assess the applicant's ability to repay the mortgage loan. How do Massachusetts underwriters typically assess an applicant's creditworthiness? Is it A, through past utility bills, B, by reviewing credit scores and reports, C, using employment references, or D, checking personal references? The answer is B, by reviewing credit scores and reports. Underwriters rely on credit scores and reports to evaluate an applicant's creditworthiness. These tools offer extensive insight into the applicant's debt management and repayment reliability. In Massachusetts, what ratio is crucial for underwriters when assessing an applicant's debt load? Is it A, loan-to-value ratio, B, debt-to-income ratio, C, capitalization rate, or D, earnings per share ratio? The answer is B, debt-to-income ratio. Underwriters use the debt-to-income (DTI) ratio to measure an applicant's ability to manage monthly debt payments relative to their income. It is crucial for assessing financial health. What is a common underwriting guideline for appraisals in Massachusetts real estate financing? Is it A, appraisals must be performed by a licensed appraiser, B, appraisals are valid for 5 years, C, only interior inspections are required, or D, appraisals are needed only for properties over $500,000? The answer is A, appraisals must be performed by a licensed appraiser. Appraisals must be conducted by licensed appraisers to ensure compliance with standards and provide a reliable estimate of property value. This prevents lending against overvalued properties. What primary factor do Massachusetts underwriters consider when assessing a property's market value? Is it A, prior purchase price, B, appraisal report, C, listing price, or D, original loan amount? The answer is B, appraisal report. The appraisal report is crucial for underwriters to determine the market value of a property, as it provides an unbiased assessment based on recent sales data and property condition. Loan closing. Which document is prepared by the closing agent to account for all funds received and disbursed in the transaction? Is it A, deed of trust, B, HUD-1 settlement statement, C, promissory note, or D, title abstract? The answer is B, HUD-1 settlement statement. The HUD-1 settlement statement is prepared by the closing agent to detail all funds received and disbursed during the closing process, ensuring transparency and accuracy in the transaction. What does the term escrow mean in the context of a Massachusetts real estate closing? Is it A, the signed agreement between buyer and seller, B, a temporary holding of funds or documents by a neutral third party, C, the transfer of property title, or D, the appraisal process? The answer is B, a temporary holding of funds or documents by a neutral third party. In Massachusetts real estate, escrow refers to the temporary holding of funds, documents, or other assets by a neutral third party until certain conditions of the sale are met. Who typically conducts the title search in a Massachusetts real estate closing? Is it A, the lender, B, the buyer's agent, C, a title company or attorney, or D, the seller? The answer is C, a title company or attorney. A title company or an attorney typically conducts the title search in Massachusetts to ensure there are no legal impediments to transferring the property's title to the buyer. What is the primary purpose of a closing disclosure in a Massachusetts real estate transaction? Is it A, to provide the buyer with the loan approval letter, B, to outline both loan terms and closing costs, C, to establish a new property tax rate, or D, to inspect the property for any repairs needed? The answer is B, to outline both loan terms and closing costs. The closing disclosure provides a detailed breakdown of the loan terms, all closing costs, fees, and other essential financial details. It ensures transparency for both the buyer and the seller. When does the closing date typically occur in a Massachusetts real estate transaction? Is it A, at the convenience of the lender, B, 40 days after the buyer's loan approval, C, on the date agreed upon by all parties in the purchase agreement, or D, as soon as the property appraisal is complete? The answer is C, on the date agreed upon by all parties in the purchase agreement. The closing date in a Massachusetts real estate transaction is mutually agreed upon by both the buyer and the seller and is specified in the purchase agreement. What is the purpose of the Massachusetts Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA? Is it A, to protect buyers and sellers from unnecessary closing costs, B, to assess property values for taxation purposes, C, to facilitate real estate advertising, or D, to standardize real estate agent training requirements? The answer is A, to protect buyers and sellers from unnecessary closing costs. The Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, protects consumers by requiring disclosures about the real estate settlement process and prohibiting certain practices that increase the cost of settlement. Massachusetts mortgage disclosure requirements. What information is required to be disclosed to a borrower under the Massachusetts Mortgage Disclosure Statement? Is it A, interest rates and loan terms, B, credit score requirements, C, types of loan programs available, or D, property appraisal values? The answer is A, interest rates and loan terms. The Massachusetts Mortgage Disclosure Statement must inform the borrower about interest rates, loan terms, payment schedules, and total repayment amount, ensuring borrowers understand their financial obligations. Which federal act requires mortgage lenders to provide borrowers with a loan estimate and closing disclosure? Is it A, Truth in Lending Act, TILA, B, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, C, Homeowners Protection Act, PA, or D, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA? The answer is B, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA. RESPA requires lenders to provide a loan estimate within 3 days of a loan application and a closing disclosure before closing, ensuring transparency in mortgage costs. Who is responsible for the accuracy of the closing disclosure in a Massachusetts real estate transaction? Is it A, the real estate broker, B, the borrower, C, the lender, or D, the escrow officer? The answer is C, the lender. The lender must ensure the closing disclosure is accurate, reflecting all fees, charges, and credits associated with the closing to comply with RESPA and TILA requirements. At what point must a lender provide the borrower with the closing disclosure according to Massachusetts regulations? Is it A, within 1 day of closing. B, at the time of application. C, 3 days before closing. Or D, 1 week after closing. The answer is C, 3 days before closing. Massachusetts regulations, in line with RESPA and TILA, require the closing disclosure to be provided 3 days before closing, ensuring that borrowers have time to review and understand their obligations. Which of the following is not a required component of the Massachusetts Home Mortgage Disclosure Act? Is it A, applicant's race and gender? B, loan amount? C, applicant's credit score? Or D, loan purpose? The answer is C, applicant's credit score. The Massachusetts Home Mortgage Disclosure Act requires information such as race, gender, loan amount, and loan purpose for monitoring and preventing discriminatory lending practices, but does not require credit score disclosure. Which disclosure must the lender provide to the borrower 3 business days before closing? Is it A, the loan estimate? B, the closing disclosure? C, the good faith estimate? Or D, the settlement statement? The answer is B, the closing disclosure. The closing disclosure provides a final detailed account of the transaction, including loan terms and closing costs, and must be given to borrowers 3 business days before the closing.
Thanks for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, tips, and tricks. And don't forget to visit birdsey.ai for complimentary study sessions with Birdsey, your AI-powered study partner.